I really want to give Dick a chance to begin to explain when we talk about parts work, what are we talking about? Because I think I have an idea in my head of what that might mean, and maybe you all have ideas in your head about what that might mean. So I'd love for you to start when this whole idea of parts, and how many parts do I have, or does a person have? How might we identify those, and how does IFS try to balance out the different parts in a person such that there is kind of greater freedom? So, and thank you for coming again.
Well, it's great to be with you, Soren. And so this goes back a while. As Emily said, I'm trained as a family therapist. And in the early 80s, I had a collection of bulimic clients. We were doing an outcome study who weren't getting better with straight family therapy and started talking about these parts of them. And I got a little nervous because they were talking about them as if they had a lot of autonomy. And I thought maybe these are multiple personality disorder clients until I noticed I've got them too. And some of mine are as extreme about food as theirs are. And then I got intrigued because these clients could describe how they interacted with each other. So if something bad happened in one of my clients' life, this critic would attack her brutally. And that would bring up a part that could make her feel totally bereft and empty and alone. And then to the rescue almost would be the binge that would take her out of her body. But then the critic would come back and attack her again. So as a family therapist, it sounded like these sequences of interaction and a little system in there. And I just started to experiment with helping clients get to know these parts. At first trying to stand up to the critic or control the binge, but finding that that made it worse. But if clients could get into what we're now calling a mindful state, and not just observe their thoughts and emotions, which is most mindfulness practice, but actually engage them from a place of curiosity and compassion even, these parts would start talking to them and tell them all kinds of things that surprised them about how they got into these roles, some of which were quite destructive. But my position is we're all multiple personalities. Anybody here a multiple personality? I've never had that many people raise their hand. We don't all have multiple personality disorder, but we all have parts. And some of them, my position is it's the natural state of the mind to be divided that way, to be multiple, that each of them have valuable talents and resources, but trauma and then attachment injuries will take them out of their naturally valuable state and force them into these roles that they don't like, that they feel are really necessary to keep us safe. And so a lot of the work is designed to help them trust that they don't have to do that anymore, and then they transform.
Great. So for example, with the critic, so one way would be just to be aware that there's a critic voice happening right now that's judging me. You had said you really, within IFS, you actually engage the critic and listen to the critic. So how would that, how does that look in terms of that, like listening and engagement and curiosity?
Do you have a critic?
I have a critic, yeah, I have a critic.
All right, so if I were working with you, Soren, I would say, I'd like you to focus on that voice, or however you experience it in your body or around your body. Find it in your body.
Okay. My attention is brought to the right side of my head is where.
All right, and as you notice it there, how do you feel toward it? In other words, do you hate it, or you try to get rid of it?
Frustrating.
You're frustrated with it.
Yeah, I don't
right?
really appreciate it that much.
Yeah. They're hard to appreciate at first.
And it's telling me right now I better do a good job at this. So hearing it right now, it's pretty loud.
So listen to it.
Yeah. Don't mess up.
Don't mess up.
Yeah.
So what I found is, and let's keep going. So if you could please ask the parts that hate it or frustrated with it to just give us a little space to get to know it. So just see if those parts would be willing to step back a little bit and relax. And we're not going to give the critic more power. We're just going to get to know it a little bit. Okay,
I think so.
So focus on it again up here, and tell me how you feel toward it now.
Now it's kind of empty. I just see this, I feel this like sensations and sense of this kind of dark space that's on the right side of my head. But there's not an emotional charge at this moment.
Does it feel like you'd be willing to get to know it now?
Sure, yeah, I'm curious about what it is.
All right. Yeah. So let it know that.
Okay.
And just see how it reacts to your curiosity.
As best I can tell, it's cool.
Okay, but we can pause.
A little surprised, but cool.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this would go on, and we would ask questions of it like, what's it afraid would happen if it didn't badger you all the time? And common answers to that are you would get hurt, or you wouldn't perform well, or you would take a risk, and so at that point, we know now what it's trying to protect. And I would have you show it appreciation in there for at least trying to protect you, even though it does it in this heavy-handed way sometimes. And often, right at that point, they just relax.
Yeah.
And that appreciation means a lot to those parts.
Yeah.
Because, most of us are fighting with them all day.
Right.